Hi, everybody. Ali Duzette here, and we're going to talk about the grand planetary alignment that's happening tomorrow and a few other things, hopefully, if I can. I've had a cold. I was coughing so bad that the sessions I tried to record last week, it was a disaster. We're going to have to re-record this week, hopefully. I created the hostility session and the headache and migraine session. So if you are dealing with headaches and migraines, if you have pent-up hostility, that's that feeling of attacking and wanting to attack somebody else, or if you feel like someone's trying to attack you, though those are the two sessions to check out, and I will be finishing those this week, hopefully, if my voice can keep it together. So let's take a look at the chart for tomorrow's planetary alignment, June 3rd. This is the star chart of this event. Now, one thing to note about planetary alignments is that they're not considered astrological events, they're considered astronomical events. And that's because the thing that people looking at the symbolic meaning of the stars from like a spiritual perspective, we're really interested in all of this stuff going on in the middle of the chart. That's going to be the angles and the aspects. And when they're all in a line, but they're not close enough to actually be interacting with each other astrologically, we don't consider that necessarily super significant. But a lot of people want to know about the secret meaning of this alignment. And I remember that the last time there was a really big alignment, not the true last time. The last time there was a big alignment like this, it was actually the date of the solar eclipse that just happened. And I didn't talk a lot about that big planetary alignment, but maybe I'll talk about it more in just a minute. But the time previous to that was actually the day that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I actually have some videos about that where I like created my video about the grand planetary alignment, and then an hour later I recorded another video about the Roe v. Wade overturn because it just really lined up with how I had interpreted it astrologically speaking. So let's take a look at this chart again. Because last time I looked at one of these planetary alignments, I said, look, from an astrological perspective, this is not considered a big thing. What's cool about it is that you get to go outside and see, hopefully with the naked eye, all these planets in a row, which is cool, but not necessarily significant. However, scripturally speaking, like in the Bible, and particularly in like Jewish law, the way that they calculated the Jewish calendar was based on the eye. I mean, based on a human being looking at the night sky and looking for the first time they could see a star, the first time they saw the moon, or the moment that the moon disappeared from view. Like they were watching the skies with their eyes. And so a planetary alignment that you can see with your eyes, even if it doesn't look like it's going to be really important based on a chart, it could still be really important to our spirits, because what is the whole point of all of this anyway? The whole point is ourselves, and like what are we seeing? Okay, the point is you are the whole point of everything that exists. It's all about you. And so what are you able to see? Well, what we're going to be able to see is 6 planets in a line. Now, one note about this is that we're not actually going to be able to really see it because Jupiter and Mercury here are so close to the sun that it's going to be really hard to see them. And let's see, Uranus and, or maybe it's Neptune and Saturn. One set of 2 of them is going to be really dim. I had it pulled up. I like looked up the site on NASA so I could like get it right for sure, but now I can't remember what it was. Let's double check it. Okay, Uranus and Neptune will not be visible without a telescope. So what does this mean? If you're planning to get up at 5 in the morning to go look at these, bring a telescope and plan ahead that you're not going to see probably Jupiter and Mercury. Now, I also want to mention that this is really fun. It's fun to have all the planets line up so that you can see them with your eyes. And we're going to be able to keep seeing these. They're going to stay in the ecliptic, in that same plane for a while. But they're just, I don't know, it's considered that this is an alignment that's happening tomorrow, June 3rd. But it's happening again on August 28th, and it's happening again on January 18th, and it's happening again on February the 28th. And February the 28th is when all 7 planets are going to be aligned: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So the last time that happened was during this total eclipse that just happened. So okay. When I had analyzed this, pretending that maybe it would be significant. I mean, and I literally said it for the Roe v. Wade overrule. I said, look, this is not considered astrologically significant, but if we look at it and attempt to analyze it in a way that would make it significant, what would that look like? And it turns out that everything that I said actually happened that same day. So let's just take another look at it, if my voice will hold up for us. And let's get to work. So the first thing that, if you were to look at the sky, you would be able to see Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn, of course, is considered the lord of karma. It calls back to us consequences. Um, and usually, I mean, it calls back all consequences, good and bad. And if you put out bad into the world, it calls back your bad consequences right back to you. And so this is I don't know. That's why it's considered a negative planet or a malefic, because typically it calls back bad consequences because most people put out more bad into the world than they put out good. I hope we can kind of agree on that. If you're not trying hard to be a really good person, the default setting is just not always very positive. So in Pisces, that karmic action is going to be taking place probably in a way that we don't expect. Pisces is very subtle and it deals with the subconscious mind. So when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, we might be seeing some karmic comeuppance, like the that spiritual boomerang. We've sent it out into the world, it's coming back to us. And what is it going to deal with? It's going to deal with our subconscious traumas, um, things about spirituality and our connection with our creator. These kinds of things may be cropping up, especially because Neptune this time around is at 29 degrees and 42 minutes of Pisces, which is at the very tail end. This is called an anoritic degree, where it is the been there, done that. It's literally what? Uh, 18 minutes away from being in Aries, okay? Um, it is so close to being in the next sign. That Neptune there is there to wrap up a bunch of stuff. It's there to finish up a cycle that has to do with spirituality and how connected we are to our creator and to our own subconscious minds. Are we making the subconscious conscious and healing it? If you have ever yelled at somebody and you didn't mean to, you lose control of yourself and start having a tantrum. You start flipping somebody off or saying the bad words you don't want to say, and you like knew better and didn't want to, and you did it anyway. That's your subconscious mind forcing itself into the conscious, while your conscious mind doesn't really understand what's going on, and your conscious mind has not processed the stuff that's going on in the subconscious mind. We are at the end almost of this transit of Neptune through Pisces, where Neptune's been inviting us to make the subconscious conscious. Come on, guys, let's take the hidden trauma. Let's take our childhood trauma. Let's take our pre-earth trauma. Let's take all of the problems that we have floating around in the back of our heads, right? Our generational trauma, the stuff we've inherited from our ancestors. Let's bring it forward and think about it. Let's recognize it for what it is and sort through it. And that's why I do all the work that I do at allydoesatclasses.com, is bringing that subconscious conscious so we can process it and change our lives really intentionally. So this is going on over there. And so and I think with this alignment, if it were to be truly significant, we're probably going to see some boomerangs come back that are saying, okay, but you forgot this, you forgot to clear this, you forgot to clear this. This is a planetary energy. The entire Earth is going to be able to see that. It's going to affect us all individually, but also on a grand level. We'll all just have to keep our eyes peeled and see where it is that we're noticing some little spiritual comeuppance, some little boomerangs coming back from where perhaps on a societal level, on a cultural, on a global level, we had a spiritual warning that we didn't act on, a spiritual invitation that we didn't act on, and now here comes the boomerang back. Now, the next thing that we're going to see in the sky is Mars in Aries, the fiery planet in the fiery sign. Mars rules Aries, and so this is a very powerful placement for Mars. And it's often linked with forest fires and fiery emotions from everybody involved. Of course, right now it's conjunct Chiron, and we just had it exact Chiron a few days ago. So if you felt a little bit more hostile than usual. It's funny, I didn't even think about that when I planned the hostility session, but of course it was totally aligned in that moment. So I'm glad I was able to record at least part of that session during a Mars Chiron conjunction where everybody's hostility is brought to the fore so we can process it. Okay. Whatever kind of boomerangs are coming back because of spiritual warnings that have gone unheeded, people may be feeling a little bit belligerent about it, a little bit feisty and fiery about it. And the moon is pretty close. It's I don't know, it's medium close to it. And it doesn't count as part of the planetary alignment, but just the fact that it's in the midst of it means that our emotions are going to be kind of primed to to perhaps feel a little bit on edge and a little bit fiery because the moon will be entering Aries, moments after this alignment. Up next, we have Uranus, which is at 24 degrees of Taurus. And so again, this is a long transit for Uranus. It's been here for years. It's going to be here for I think another year or two. But all told, it will be an 8-year transit. And the last time Uranus was in this position, we had the Great Depression. So that is something that I've been really keeping my eyes on, especially as Uranus is making its way to the end of Taurus. Okay, as it exits Taurus, that's going to be a real moment that we're going to want to keep our eyes on with the economy. Uranus brings unexpected situations, but often unexpected disasters. That's what it's really famous for. Like Saturn, it calls to you the things that match you. And many people have not done a lot of really great stuff. And so when Uranus brings them unexpected surprises, those surprises can be pretty negative. If you are doing your best to be a good person, Uranus can bring you those surprises that surprise you at how wonderful they are because they're matching you. They will match the energy that you are showing up with in this world. Okay, so unexpected situations with the economy, with land, okay? Those are going to be really key here. Mercury at 00 degrees of Gemini, ooh la la, it's a brand new entrance of Mercury into Gemini where all of our minds are going to be a little bit quicker. Mercury is the thinker and the talker, big communicator. Gemini is also a thinker and talker. Mercury rules Gemini, but Gemini is famous for seeing two sides. Okay, it really sees the split. It sees the good and the bad. It can see around the corner. Okay, of the decisions. It can think through two different things. I hope that makes any sense. And this at 00 degrees is right next to Jupiter at 01 degrees. So these are considered conjunct, and that's a pretty tight conjunction. And especially since Mercury will be on top of Jupiter probably by the end of the day or tomorrow, that's like pretty tight. Jupiter brings big blessings. A lot of times it is considered the great benefic. It tends to bring you good wherever it is, but really what it does is it expands. So whatever our thoughts are going to be about these different situations that show up in our lives, that Jupiter is going to expand it and blow it up, make it really big so that we can't miss it. So whatever kinds of big thoughts that you're having in the next day or two as all these planets line up, just pay attention to them. Are they being expanded to get your attention? The answer is yes. They are being expanded to get your attention. And why are they trying to get our attention? Why? So that we can handle that belligerence from Mars and make sure that we don't get too feisty and mean in our interactions with other people. It's going to help us pay attention to whatever kinds of economic shakeups might be happening in our personal lives or on a general level with that Uranus in Taurus. And with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, our thoughts are going to be primed to really consider the spiritual warnings that maybe we've been neglecting, any spiritual promptings that we've been feeling like maybe we should act upon. This is a great time to really dig in and actually take good action with those. Okay, so we're going to have to see how this exact alignment plays out, but it's pretty interesting that it's showing up right now. Again, the last time that we had an alignment like this was the eclipse, and then the time previous to that, we had this big court ruling. So we'll just have to see what happens tomorrow. Who knows? Now, in the meantime, we've had a lot of really interesting stuff happen, and I haven't analyzed it at all. I woke up the day after the eclipse, really the day of the eclipse, and I just felt like, oh, I feel like I'm being reset. Now, this eclipse took place in Aries, I believe at 8 degrees of Aries. And I didn't expect to have a big reset myself because I don't have much going on in Aries. My own Aries in my natal chart is intercepted. But I do have Mars in Aries. That's my only planet in that whole axis of Aries and Libra. And whenever you have a planet in the sign that it rules, that is considered your final dispositor, and that gives it kind of an extra special job in your chart, where it kind of it's kind of along the lines of the chart ruler, your final dispositor. And so I feel like my final dispositor had a reset, and all of a sudden I thought, oh, I don't want to record anymore. What's wrong with me? I don't know. I had a reset from this like solar eclipse, I guess. But I've been praying a lot about how to support all of us through this summer as we head into this election. You know, our next set of eclipses is happening in September and October, shortly before this, before the election. I think with so much political upheaval in the past couple of days and weeks, there's a lot to be keeping an eye on, and particularly also with inflation. There's a lot going on with inflation as well. And this morning I woke up and I thought, oh, I think I know what to do. I finally know what to do. We my job has to be creating more stability in an unstable world. As things become more unstable leading up to November, you and me, we're on the same team. Our team has to be the one that's creating more internal stability. Okay, that is what it's all going to come back to. We've got to become more stable ourselves. How are we going to do that? I made a list. Okay, I'm going to read it to you. We need to experience more health with our physical bodies, more peace with our emotions, better relationships in our marriages, our friendships, our relationships with our children, our parents, our siblings, our friendships. And I wrote down this phrase, more abundance through self-reliance, okay? Because this has been one thing that's been really throwing me over the past couple of weeks. While I've been silent on YouTube, I've been using that time to read an enormous amount of nonfiction medical books about things like adrenaline and estrogen and hormones and ultra processed food and all kinds of things, and also the economy. I've been studying all of that stuff a lot. And one thing that I've been really thinking about is how we all want abundance, but what does abundance really mean? What does it mean in the historical context? What does it mean in the context of our personal contexts? And is it even possible with what is going on with the world at large? And so I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I think I'm going to save them for tomorrow. But more abundance through self-reliance was the phrase that came to me very strongly, that in an age of inflation, that I don't know, some people that I follow on the internet say they're predicting periods of hyperinflation in the future. I don't know how near that is, and I don't know how likely that is, but something to keep an eye on is this growing inflation issue. And what how do we experience abundance as we become more reliant on ourselves and less reliant on a system that is inherently unstable? How do we do that? So that, when I got that this morning, and I just thought, oh, yes, that is it. Okay, now we have a game plan. Now I feel like I have a game plan. We are going to work together to hopefully accomplish this. I called it the framework in my little notes here. The framework for creating more stability in an unstable world. So we will talk more about that in the coming days, but for now, I just wanted to talk about that planetary alignment, bring up these concepts really fast. I'll put a link to the important sessions and stuff below, but as we head into this week with this grand planetary alignment and you know, the next couple of weeks, we will be able to see that in the sky before dawn, okay? That's when to get up. You got to get up before the sun rises, and you should theoretically be able to see those with a a telescope. We're going to be noticing the thoughts that come into our minds that are magnified. We're going to be paying attention to where we're seeing both sides, the two sides of the coin, as Gemini does. Gemini two-faced. It doesn't mean that you have to be two-faced if you're Gemini or if you have Gemini stuff in your chart, but what it really is talking about is that ability to see both sides. Okay. Um, and also that Gemini can often struggle with authenticity versus inauthenticity. What is true and what is the mirror? Okay. And so we're going to be able to dig into that in the coming weeks as our thoughts flow into our minds about the decisions that we have to make, about what we're perceiving in the world, what is true, what is the mirror of truth. Okay. We're going to pay attention to those consequences from Saturn in Pisces. We're going to pay attention to our spiritual promptings with that Neptune in Pisces. We're going to be extra careful to be kind to other people. Well, Mars is in Aries, and Mars is going to be in Aries until I think June 15th. And that Uranus in Taurus, it's been there for years and it will be there for a while yet. But just keeping an eye on the economics, on the land, on our own personal finances, and expecting the unexpected. But if we go into it with a positive attitude, we can rest assured that good things are going to come our way too. We get to control how these astrological influences show up for us. And what I mean by that, obviously we don't control the whole world and we don't control everything that exists, but we do control ourselves and we do control our thoughts and our attitudes. And I know it doesn't often feel like that because in the moment, again, it's that subconscious mind coming forward without our permission, and it just takes over, and suddenly we're yelling at people, and we're you know, having our own little baby tantrum, even though we're grown-ups or something. It doesn't always feel like we have control over our thoughts and our emotions, but we can take control of those things. And again, that's why I do all the work that I do at AllieDozetteClasses.com. We're making the subconscious conscious because the heavens act as a mirror for us, and it is all about you. It's all about you. It's all about me. It's all about you. You are the person that you're the reason that this world exists. Okay, each of us individually, if we were the only person that existed, this whole system would still be needed for us and be worth putting together for us. Okay, all of us are on an incredibly important personal journey, and as we live through that journey, our job is to learn that the world is a mirror for us. And so if we are not loving the way that things are showing up for us, it's a big sign that we need to be shifting our thoughts, our actions, our behaviors, perhaps our desires. We get to choose to want something else. We get to choose to act differently. Okay, we get to choose to think differently. I know easier said than done. That's okay. That's why you like and follow and hang out with me. But you don't have to feel out of control. You are the one making the faces in the mirror. And when the mirror is reflecting back to you something that you don't like, you get to change what you're doing in the mirror. Okay, that is the really big thing to remember here. It all comes back to you, your choices, your agency. How are you choosing to use what you have been given on this earth? And we're all given different stuff, different, I mean, physical stuff, emotional stuff, talents, problems. Okay, we come here already with all sorts of stuff that we've brought with us. And then it gets added more to us through our childhoods, which are all different. And then at some point, you realize that perhaps you have more control over this situation than you thought. And that is the whole point. Okay, this summer, my hope for all of us with this framework that I wrote down is that we're going to really heal a whole lot of things. Honestly, the name I gave it was like, this is the summer, we're going to get our crap together. And then I thought, is that an appropriate word to use? I know a lot of people use a lot of words. I say that word. But I thought, oh, do I want to call it that? I don't know. But that's what it is in my mind. The summer we get our crap together. The summer we get our lives together. Okay, let's put it like that. Let's get our lives together this summer. And I know that we have a lot to do. We have a lot to do. And as I sat there and I thought, how am I going to be supportive? And I thought, oh my gosh, there's all these sessions that people have requested that I haven't done. And I thought, this is the summer. I hope I can just plow through and get them done. Of course, this week I thought, oh, I'll plow through and get some done. And of course, I woke up that day sick. I've been coughing and having voice problems, and it's just my own self-sabotage. Come on, get out of my own way, Allie. That's what I have to tell myself. We all deal with self-sabotage, and then we work through it and get out of our own way so that we can have a better life and make life better for other people too. Okay. Well, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow if I can get it together and record. But let's keep an eye on that grand planetary alignment. Thanks for hanging out, and I hope that you have a good day.